October marks the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act, and we all know some communities across the country are facing a water crisis because of aging infrastructure. Here to share more about that, along with guidance on how communities can protect their waterways and keep the drinking water safe, is Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, Executive Vice President for the National Wildlife Federation. Doctor, good morning. How you doing?
I'm blessed. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us. You know, right off the bat, I think of Jackson, Mississippi, most recently this week, having trouble. Flint, Michigan, the lead crisis they were having. It's in some ways unbelievable that in modern America, people are still having this issue.
Yeah, you know, living in the 21st century, we would assume that everyone would have safe, clean water to drink, to bathe in, and even to be able to swim in. But we know for some communities, especially our most vulnerable communities, that there are still some challenges there. And we've got to work diligently to be able to address them.
Speaking of those challenges, I guess the Supreme Court's about to hear a case that could limit the scope of the Clean Water Act. What does the Clean Water Act do first?
Yeah, well, the Clean Water Act says you can't just dump pollution into our water bodies, into our rivers and our streams. It also says that you have to have a permit if you're a facility or an industry, and some of the things that are coming out of those pipes. The other part of it is to make sure that when we find that we have water bodies that are having trouble, that are polluted, that the states put together a plan to be able to clean it up. And then the fourth element is also to make sure that folks have the resources that they need to build out the infrastructure, to make sure that those actions cleaning up water, that folks have the dollars they need to be able to do that. And that's, in a nutshell, what the Clean Water Act focuses upon.
So can we let's picture life for a second without the Clean Water Act. I mean, what would it be like?
Well, we can go back to a time before 1972 when that Clean Water Act was put in place. And we saw literally across our country, we had rivers that were catching on fire. Many people have heard about the Cuyahoga River. Lake Erie was labeled as a dead river, or excuse me, a dead lake, actually, because of all the pollution that was in there. Across our country, in some water bodies, you could almost walk across them because there was so much pollution and cars and all kinds of things that were in there. And then, of course, all that plays into our water quality because we get a lot of our drinking water from our rivers and reservoirs. So one of the reasons, those are just some of the reasons actually, that the Clean Water Act is so important here in the 21st century to make sure that we don't go back to those types of situations.
I remember growing up in New York City, we used to make really bad jokes about the East River and how dirty it was. Doctor, what can people do? What can regular folks do, like me, to help protect these sources of drinking water?
Well, you know, the first thing, and my grandmother was big on this, is for us to get educated, to make sure that we're understanding the dynamics of what's going on, both in our local communities and across our states. The other part is that we make sure that we're raising our voices, making sure that both our local, county, state, and federal officials understand that we want to make sure that clean water continues to exist for all across our country, and to make sure that we're also, engaging in the process. If we begin to do that, we can actually push to make sure that clean water for all becomes a reality for everybody.
You would appreciate some of the storm drains on the streets in Houston have little placards, little stickers reminding folks what goes into this drain, goes to our bayous, goes to the bay, goes to the fish, right? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we need, those reminders.
Yeah, that's a part of the education. You know, it's the visualization of helping folks to be able to make that connection by, with the things that we do. Don't dump that oil or don't dump other types of chemicals, into those drains. Really helps to empower us. And that's why I appreciate, the work of the Tejas organization right there in the Manchester community, or the work that folks are doing over in the 5th Ward to really bring attention to when pollution is present and impacting, our most vulnerable communities. It also impacts all of us because it ends up making its way into those water bodies that you mentioned.
Before we go, Doctor, where can folks get more information about the work you're doing?
They can go to the WaltonFamilyFoundation.org/clean water, or you can go over to www.nwf.org.
Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, Executive Vice President for the National Wildlife Federation. Doctor, really enjoyed the talk today. Thank you.
Appreciate you.